Good morning. Thank you for registering for today's webinar, which is all about upping your AI game and is entitled Turning Agentic AI into a Competitive Edge for Your Hotel. Welcome. My name is Jane Pendlebury. I'm the CEO of the Hospitality Professionals Association. It's Tuesday, the 21st of April, 2026, and it's 10 a.m. We're due to be chatting for around 20, 30 minutes, or more like 30 minutes today, with time for questions during and throughout. So we should be finished by about 10:45, depending on how many questions you ask. And please do ask questions throughout. There's a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. And if there's not enough time to answer all the queries, then we will get back to you afterwards. The webinar is being recorded, and we're happy to share the link afterwards, and it will be available on our website as usual later this week. I'm delighted to be joined today by Wouter Geerts from MEWS. Thank you. And to
Thanks for
help
having me.
him deliver relevant content today, we thought we'd start with a quick poll to set the scene. So let's hope that this works well for us. Hopefully now on your screen you can see our first poll, if that's working for you. How have you used AI in your company over the past 6 months? First one, built into a vendor tool we use in like PMS, RMS, chatbot, or CRM. Staff use generative AI tools such as ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini. Third option is custom AI, internally built tool, or not used any AI, don't know. So please do answer that. There seems to be a pretty clear winner there. So Wouter, I'm going to ask you to comment on that. And also, as to kick you off, for those who don't know Muse, please can you give us a quick intro to your company as well? And I'm going to end that poll
Sure.
when we have those results. So 76% staff use generative AI tools, with built into the vendor tool coming second, and then custom AI internally built tool is third. And nobody is ignorant, so that's fantastic. So
That's
I'll end
great.
that poll now and hand over to you.
Yeah, no, thanks. And actually, this is we maybe should have made it a multiple choice question or multiple answers possible question. But we do see that the vast majority of hoteliers today are using it as we do in our daily lives, I guess, through a lot of ChatGPT and these kind of things. We'll talk about that more, I'm sure, in the next half hour. Just a little bit on Muse, yeah, sure. So Muse is a property management system. We have about 15,000 customers worldwide, and we exist for about 14 years now, I believe. So we're a cloud native system, one of the newer and we think more innovative players on the market when it comes to property management. We have done quite a lot of acquisitions, and so we are no longer just a core PMS. We also have our own POS or POS system. We have an RMS, revenue management system. We've got an event management system, and so there's different parts, and the most recent one is a flex keeping, which is a housekeeping and maintenance sort of system. So we're expanding and building our sort of portfolio of different products that we can offer our customers, and yeah, we're seeing quite healthy growth in the UK as well. So very happy to be on the call today and talk more about sort of what we're seeing as the future for AI.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And with so many customers, you must get a fair bit of feedback. So what do you hear from them, and what do you see in your data with regard to the current state of play for the industry?
If we look at beyond AI, I suppose, and just at how the market is performing, and especially I'm talking about the UK in particular now, we are seeing a little bit of weakness. Obviously, there's quite a lot happening in the world, and that's not helping necessarily. Consumer confidence is quite low, cost of living is quite high, especially with obviously the surging petrol prices. And the UK is at least for our hotels, especially outside of London, we're seeing that they do rely a lot on domestic travel as well. And there is some weakness there. It's not massive. There's no massive slump or anything, but we are seeing that costs are high, and demand isn't sort of keeping pace with the rising costs. So what we talk a lot with our customers about is how do we improve margins because margins are really under pressure. And so what we try to do through our product is, okay, let's help hoteliers to look beyond rooms and really look at, okay, what other revenue streams can you tap into? Most hotels have a lobby, they have some event spaces, they have certain things that they can sell. Maybe it's some bikes, maybe it's a hot tub. Maybe it's a space where you can turn into a workspace or anything like that. And so we're really trying to help with that because what we're really seeing is that yeah, like I said, margins are under pressure and costs are high. So that's probably what's defining the period right now.
Yeah, and what you're hearing, I'm sure that's true. We're hearing exactly the same. So taking it back to AI specifically, can you give us like a potted history context of AI in hospitality and how we've got to where we are today?
Yeah, sure. AI, I guess everyone now knows about AI as we saw in the poll as well, and everyone uses it today, right? But I suppose it's been around for a little bit longer. I guess the first time that people would have started using AI is maybe about 10 years ago when you've got revenue management systems, or the modern ones, Duetto, Ideas, our own, which is Atomize that are using machine learning in their systems, and that really is sort of a first iteration of AI and still extremely important. So these are you feed it a lot of data, it finds patterns in those data sets, and in case of an RMS, it sort of improves your pricing based on
Mm.
that, right? That's been, like I said, been around for 10 years. It's improving all the time and it's getting better and better. But it's not necessarily the new and the hyped AI that we see now. I guess about, what is it, 3, 4 years ago, generative AI came on the scene with ChatGPT. Today, you've got loads of these systems. This is really where natural language and talking to a computer and it understanding you and giving you back an answer in natural language became sort of very popular, of course. It's very good. It's not smart. It doesn't reason necessarily. It just knows how to put words behind each other. And so there are obviously some shortcomings with it as well. And I think what I'd really love to talk more about today, especially, is this sort of next wave now, which we call agentic AI. So you're talking about agents or co-workers or however you might want to call them. And they're becoming smarter. So they can reason. So they can function almost autonomously if you want them to, but obviously you might always want to keep the human in the loop, as they say, and certain decisions need to be made by humans. But they're more responsive. So if stuff changes in their environment, they sort of change as well, or they can see those changes and they can say, actually, let's do this. They're much more proactive. They can collaborate more with each other, etc. So that really becomes sort of this future idea of every person in a hotel can have this digital coworker almost that can do certain tasks, certain workflows for them, and can keep an eye on certain data points or data sets or whatever, so that if something changes, it lets the person know, and they don't have to go into their spreadsheets and go into their systems every morning to see what happened overnight. They might have this digital colleague that does all that for them.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask you, I'm just going to flick up the results again, actually, of the poll so that
Yeah.
people can see them. And I'm just wondering, from your experience talking to customers and any research you've done, is this what we've seen in the poll there? Are you seeing a growing adoption of AI by hoteliers?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We did a similar poll. We asked a similar question as well in there. We did a study with 500 hoteliers, 100 of which were in the UK, and we basically find the same thing. So there's a huge adoption. I think it was 98%. I think of hoteliers say that they're actually using AI on a daily basis. Um, ChatGPT or similar sort of large language models are the one that's used the most, and they're used for very common tasks. So in a hotel, of course, translations, for example, or writing emails, or helping with writing emails, these kind of things. A lot of people use it today for that. Obviously, you've got, like I said before, machine learning in sort of rate management and setting prices and all that stuff that's being used as well. Um, I think what's most interesting to me is that you often hear trust is low with AI, but I think that's changing very rapidly as AI is getting better. And actually, what we found is that almost 60% of hotels already have sort of an official written policy of how its staff can use AI. So that's very positive. People are proactive about sort of, okay, how are we gonna enable and empower our staff members to use these new tools. So I'm very happy to see that. And I think we saw that 80% of hoteliers are actually optimistic about sort of the future of AI. But I think everyone's very realistic that certain things need to stay human, and we really want to enable that as well. We don't see this as, okay, we're going to build these coworkers, now get rid of your staff and have a completely digital hotel experience. No, it's not that at all. It's get rid of all the administrative and sort of mundane menial tasks so that the people that work in your hotel can actually do the stuff that they joined the industry for and that make the actual hospitality experience much better, which is the human connectivity and the contact that you have with your guests. And so that's, I think, most hotels are very rational about that, which is great to see.
Yeah, that is good. So, of all those things you've mentioned, the back of house stuff, the writing emails, where do you think the biggest impact of AI this year in 2026? Where do you think the biggest impact will be?
I think up to now, like I said, it's been relatively superficial on sort of how AI has been implemented, and the main area where we see a lot of focus right now, also because margins are under pressure, is how can it help you drive more revenue? And so very quickly that goes to how can we sell better? How can we forecast better? So the distribution landscape is really seeing a big impact from AI. I think that's great. And I think this year especially we'll see a lot of that happening. I think if we look beyond that, where we can really see the biggest impact overall is really this idea of, okay, we've got agents in the hotel autonomously or semi-autonomously working and actually making the whole operation of your hotel more efficient. So that's a much messier space. Distribution is mostly online, AI is mostly digital, so it marries quite easily. When you start looking at sort of the offline in hotel operations, of course, a lot of that is quite hard to automate, and it is a lot of different systems, a lot of different workarounds, and a lot of people that are involved there. So actually making that more efficient with AI is hard, but we really feel that that's where the real impact can be made and where costs can be suppressed. And so I really hope that that's where we see the industry moving this year.
Brilliant. Great. I know you have some slides, so
Hmm.
we're just going to have one more poll, and then I will hand over you to share what Muse's future vision for AI in the hospitality industry is. But I'm just going to launch a second poll here, and the question here is: what are the greatest barriers to adopting? Oh, can you see the? It's not showing the whole question. To adopting more AI, maybe it is on the outside, in your organization. And there's a number of options there. AI makes mistakes and or is biased. Concerns about privacy and security, lack of knowledge and skilled workforce, impact on guest expectation and brand image, too expensive, or the last one, I don't see any barriers. So we've got a fair number of changing there. I'm going to just end that poll and share the results there for everyone to see. So hopefully people can see there that the most popular answer shared, actually, the top two, AI makes mistakes, and concerns over privacy and security. Oh no, sorry, the top answer is lack of knowledge and skilled workforce. Yes, that would make sense actually. And then a splattering amongst the other ones there as well. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but I'm going to also, if you want to share your screen and go onto your
Yeah.
slides, Wouter, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, in terms of again, very recognizable. I think people are in some ways worried about sort of what AI is doing and what it can do, but also like don't fully trust necessarily everything that comes out of it, and that's totally correct, the correct way of looking at it, because it does make mistakes. It does hallucinate and make up answers, and obviously when it's business critical, you want to make sure that you don't over rely on it. So I think again, it's a very rational way of looking at it, and it should be that way anyway.
Cool.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, that's
Great.
good. You're
I
good to
just
go.
yeah, so I just wanted to share a little bit. Some of our ideas and our vision are quite hard to explain without a few slides. So I'm just gonna quickly run through this and also show some of the stuff that we're working on, so that it makes it a little bit more tangible on sort of what we're actually doing. So I think I already talked about it a little bit, but I think our industry is sort of known as a quite a slow adopter of new technologies. But I think if you think about it, really the reasons for that make sense. First of all, it is an industry that's human driven, and so you've got limited tech budgets. So hospitality in general is quite a low margin business, and you have a lot of different costs. The average hotel only spends about 4%, I believe, of their budget on technology anyway. And so there's sort of limited appetite to start spending more on AI tools on top of all of the technology that people already have. And there needs to be a really clear return on investment, if you like, or it needs to replace certain tools that are already in place, I suppose, for people to really say, okay, let's jump into this. Secondly, we also have a lot of fragmented systems. I'm sure if you are working in a hotel, you know about this. We see that on average, people that are using our property management systems have about seven other systems that they integrate into on average. There's hotels that have far more, and also some that have a little fewer. But and while they are integrated, often they don't fully talk to each other. And really, a lot of hotels, like I said before as well, they really rely on Excel sheets and sort of manually pulling data from different systems to make it all work. And this really is a problem for AI to have a big impact, because AI needs clean, structured data, and that doesn't always exist today. Finally, I think we are working in a very complex industry, and again, I mentioned this before as well. There's this strong online aspect to it, but we also have obviously the most important, which is the offline aspect, and those two worlds, they need to be embedded as much as possible for AI to make a really big impact. But the AI can't really bridge that itself. So that's really hard. And I think every property is very unique on top of that. It comes with its own sort of little quirks, its own little issues. And all of that makes a general AI tool, if you like, that you can just buy off the shelf, quite incapable of making a real big impact. At the same time, because it is so hard, AI is probably the first technology that can actually solve some of these things. So it's a double-edged sword. I think at MEWS we really believe that the solution of all of these problems is sort of twofold. So sorry, this is a very pink slide. This is our new branding. So first of all, hoteliers they need sort of AI tools that are already that are implemented sort of in the systems that they already run, right? You don't need to buy another tool to sort of bolt onto your existing tech. Really, you need something that is integrated in what you already use. And really, what we need to do is we need to solve for that fragmented or data tech stack that you have, so that AI can really do what it does best. Now, with regards to implementing AI, and I wanted to show you some of the stuff that we're doing so you get an idea of what's possible. Here's some examples of sort of that. So first of all, we have a business intelligence tool. So that allows hoteliers to sort of see all of the data, all of their operational data, and build sort of their own sort of dashboards. But it's very easy to obviously get lost in your data, especially if you run a small operation. You're doing all sorts of things. You're wearing different hats, and you might not be an expert in that. So we have AI summaries, for example, that explain what's happening in your business in natural language. It's much easier to read and much quicker to sort of see an overview of what is important for me today. We do the same in our revenue management system, where it will explain to you in natural, normal language why is it proposing certain prices for certain rooms, for certain dates, etc. Just so that you can understand what it's doing rather than you just having to guess or find it out yourself. This is where AI is really strong. Another thing that we're working on and that will go live soon in our system is what we call smart tasks. So you have information about your guest that's arriving. You've got reservation information. You might have some notes on the system if it's a returning guest or previous reservations that are in the system. So first of all, this smart tasks, what it does is it provides a quick summary of the guest that is arriving, and it pops up at the time of check-in. So the front desk person can really personalize the welcome experience. They know something about the guest, how they booked, what kind of questions they asked, what happened during their previous stay. That can really help. But it also proposes certain tasks. So, for example, add a bottle of wine to this person's room, or they like different pillows, anything like that, and it automatically generates that task and sends it to housekeeping so that they can do stuff like that. This is where again AI makes that personalization at scale much easier. And then finally, where we plan to take this in the future is to really make this what you can call a timeline assistant. So you've got this timeline where you book all of the people into the different rooms, and it can really help you with upsells, for example. So many hotels are quite bad, if I can say so, at sort of selling early check-ins or late checkouts, because often you don't really know, oh, will this room be free? Will housekeeping know that they need to clean this first? If there's a late checkout, can we also sell an early check-in to the same room? It's quite hard to keep tabs of all of that for people behind the front desk. So use AI. It can find out what's possible. It will even tell you what rooms you need to switch, and it will keep an eye on sort of constraints. What kind of suites do you have? What kind of loyalty program do you have? To make sure that all of that is taken into consideration, and it will help you to sell more and generate more revenue through upsells like that. So that's really where AI is great. So very quickly, those are some examples of what we're building today in our existing system. Our vision really is to turn these into sort of AI features that are sort of fully fledged coworkers, like I mentioned already. So humans shouldn't focus on some of these administrative tasks. They should be in the hotel, in the lobby, welcoming people and doing these kind of things. What you need for that to achieve that, to have those coworkers almost autonomously work in the background, is a few things. So firstly, what we have done, and I mentioned this in the beginning of the call as well, we have acquired quite a few companies because we feel that we need to have a lot of the critical operational technology under a single umbrella so that they're fully embedded and they can all use the same sort of data set. So that's that inner circle that you see on this slide. Then we are obviously building these coworkers, which is the agentic layer around it. But yeah, so some examples, you got the revenue, you can have an operational coworker, maybe a staffing coworker that can help with staffing requirements based on your occupancy, et cetera, et cetera. Then we also one key element that I just want to spend one more minute on before I close off is this agentic, or sorry, this semantic layer that you see on this slide here, which is sort of this circle in between the agentic layer and all of the systems that we have. And I think this is something that's quite important. We talked about the messiness of tech stacks, and here's an example of one of our customers' tech stack. And I don't think this is something that's unheard of. All sorts of different systems are working, trying to work together, not fully working together, not fully communicating, with data sort of completely siloed, and a lot of Excel work needed to make all of this work. That's a problem for AI, like I said before. AI and these coworkers are really only as powerful as sort of the data that it can access and the data that it can understand. If data lives in a lot of different systems, and it's unstructured, it doesn't understand it, then it can't really reason across these different domains. So however good the AI is, it sort of hits this context wall. It doesn't understand the data, and it's going to start making up things. It's going to find solutions that aren't really there. It's going to make up data. It's not great. So what we really need is this semantic layer. And that's sort of a communication layer, if you like. It understands your hotel. It understands the different systems that you have, and it provides sort of common definitions across these different systems, so that when an AI coworker needs specific information, it can find the definition, it can understand the hotel through this semantic layer. And that's what we're really hard working on building, so that hotels can actually use more of these AI tools, because it's not just about work building these coworkers and building these AI tools, which is great. And you see a lot of these tools coming on the market now. But if you want something that can operate across all of your operations with all of the technology that you have, you need something like a communication layer that really understands your property, and that's the semantic layer. So if you hadn't heard of that terminology, hopefully now that you understand that a little bit more. So I'll stop there, but I thought it would be better to show a few slides to sort of make that come to life.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, and that certainly did explain it nice and neatly. We have got a final poll actually, which I will launch now. Um, Overall, what is your view towards the future potential of AI in hospitality operations? Very optimistic, somewhat pessimistic, or very pessimistic? So we're getting quite a few answers into there. I'm going to end it very shortly. It's all optimistic, Wouter.
That's good. I was worried that I had made people
It's
disillusioned with all of this talk.
right. I'm going to end that and share the results now. So hopefully you can see those on your screen.
Great.
So somewhat optimistic seems to be the winner, with very optimistic a very close second, and 4% there, somewhat pessimistic. So I guess that's fairly consistent in the results there, of what we've got. So it's interesting to see what people are really thinking, isn't it, about AI. We do have a comment here, possibly controversial, so answer it as you see fit, Wouter. It's a long one. Agentic AI is still based on LLMs, large language models. LLMs are still next best word probability engines. They have no real world models. They don't know up, down, before, after, higher, lower, time, distance logic, and especially numbers. They just mimic. Wouldn't it be unwise to allow agentic AI to run business processes? Better use RPA and human designed process flows. So that's quite a long comment there. But I don't know what your thoughts on. I know that RPA was definitely, I always thought RPA was a great thing, that we could actually automate so much and get it done. So have you got a response to that from one of our
Sure,
delegates today?
sure. Yeah. So I think so. So first of all, agentic AI is definitely goes beyond just generative AI, right? It's more than that. I think what's most interesting here is that I totally agree, to be fair, with the comment. There's a lot that needs to be improved. There's also a lot that can still be improved with simple automation. And where agentic AI, I think, is best is when humans are in the loop and decide what it can and cannot do. Now, the semantic layer that I mentioned before is that sort of world model, if you like. It will help explain to the agents what's happening around them. And it will improve its understanding over time. So while I don't agree with all of the technical details in the comment, I think I totally agree with the idea of yes, there's still a lot of automation that needs to be done. Yes, the human is extremely important and should always be in the loop, or at least start to be in the loop. And then as you start to as the agent starts to understand your business better and you start to trust it more, you can give it more autonomy over time. But saying that sort of agentic AI is just generative AI is not totally accurate, is not totally correct. It is getting better at numbers. It is getting better at other things. And with the semantic layer, it should understand your business better and better. But I totally agree that yes, you need to be a little bit pessimistic. And you do need to ask yourself, where should AI be used to help me and where shouldn't it? And that should be your decision, and you should actively make that decision. There's certain areas back of house, but also certain areas facing to your guest facing areas that you need to decide, what do I stand for? What's my brand image and perception? What do I actively want to keep human, and what can I give away to automation to help me with? And so those are really decisions that each hotelier should be making and should be thinking about.
Yes, and there's another comment here about AI and potentially losing jobs. But I love the way that you have focused on the fact that they do the menial tasks, the back office tasks, to free people up to do what we in the industry do best, which is the hospital. I can't do it, the hospitality bit.
Yeah.
Um, I don't believe we will actually have necessarily less employees. They might be doing different things, I think, and we'll be offering a better service to our guests.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I think what's interesting to me is the I think certain roles will change, certain tasks will disappear for sure, but other tasks will become more important.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that maybe hoteliers are underestimating is the impact that AI can have on how a business is operated. And I'm not talking about just about sort of the operational side of things and the back of house automation. I'm also thinking about your guests, and they're using AI as well. So think of a world, it's not here yet, but it's not unimaginable to be here in sort of the next 5 years. Think of a world where everyone has a personal AI assistant. And that AI assistant will book your travel for you. You will tell it, I need to go down to London for a business trip on these dates, book me a hotel, book me my travel. And this AI assistant knows quite a lot about you and doesn't have any shame. We, as humans, we often feel ashamed to ask certain things from the hotel. Um, Oh, when I travel for work, my first night in a hotel is never good because I'm not used to the pillow, and I'd like a hard pillow because I have that at home, but I deal with it. An AI assistant doesn't have that qualm. It will likely converse with the hotel and say, my owner, or however they call you, likes hard pillows. Can you put one in their room? And think about all of the potential requests that as a hotel you're going to get. You're going to be busier and need more staff, maybe even rather than less. And so preparing yourself for that is definitely something that I think you need to start thinking about, because I don't think AI will necessarily remove jobs. It's likely and it's possible that actually hotels will require more staff than anything else.
And do you think on that point, when hoteliers are looking to hire new staff, do you think they'll be potentially looking for different skills than they did, 5 years back? And then how do you train an onboard staff to adopt new systems without it being too overwhelming? So I guess
Mm.
that's two questions, the skills first and then the training.
So I think in terms of skills, yes, it will depend on where in the business you're looking to hire, I suppose. I think if you're any guest-facing role, the social skills will be paramount. And so, does a person know how to operate Opera or any other systems? Not that important. Do they have good social skills and can they interact with people? That's the prime thing to hire for. If you're talking about a GM or any other sort of back of house roles, it will likely become more important that they are confident with using certain AI tools or potentially building certain AI solutions. And this is not has nothing to do with coding necessarily. If you haven't vibe coded yet, anyone who's on this call, give it a try. Claude Code or any of the other systems is great. You just tell it what you want and you build your own app. Could be anything. So those are probably things that will become more and more important. In terms of training, I think it will become more important rather than having sort of a when you use a new technology or you sign up for a new technology, there tends to be an onboarding session where the person from that technology vendor comes in and there's a classroom style sort of meeting where everyone piles into this meeting room and gets a 1 day training on sort of how to use the system. That will continue to be important, but innovation is so rapidly that you probably need to have more intermittent training. But AI again can help with that as well, of course, and it can personalize different training methods for different people and different departments. So I think the shorter, more frequent training is going to be more interesting to sort of
Mm,
that in-person training that we do today.
yeah. I guess as things change more quickly than they have in the past as well.
Yeah, yeah.
There's another question here, which is probably a bit out of the Muse's remit, but you might have an opinion on it. What
Mhm.
do you think about agentic AI in response to WhatsApp and Instagram messages and comments? So I guess that's more guest reviews or WhatsApp, I guess, could be asking for the pillow. But guest reviews, can agentic AI satisfy the customer's questions?
Yeah, so when it comes to guest messaging, this is definitely some, and again, we're building features for that as well. Didn't show it today, but guest messaging is more generative AI, but we don't have to get hung up on the different systems. But yes, technology today is good enough to sort of receive messages, have full conversations, but then agentic AI exactly is needed for that sort of next step. If someone asks something, there you need sort of this agentic AI to find a booking, for example, and then actually make an action. So change the reservation or add a task to housekeeping because I messaged the hotel that I'd like a harder pillow, as going back to that previous example. So these kind of things, yes, agentic AI will be very good at that, and can automate some of these processes. Similar with early check-ins, or if I want to change my reservation, it will be able to over time to automatically do all of that without there needing to be sort of front desk interaction or this message needing to be checked by a human person.
Yeah. I've got a question here about the semantic layer that you were referring to. How can middleware help create those without MEWS to build a semantic layer, and what challenges will they find? Well, I'd like to say the simple answer is that is to switch your PMS to MEWS. That would solve that problem, wouldn't it? Um,
Well, sure, sure. Well, one thing that I didn't mention about the semantic layers is actually we're building this PMS agnostic. So we want this to be a tool that every hotelier can use, and so you don't need to be a Muse customer to be able to use this. You can use another PMS as well. We're not there yet. I have to state this. This is like vision, and this is not a product that's on the market today. But we're not seeing this as something that's just from use. We every hotelier should be able to reach it. But yes, a middleware provider can likely build the same. I don't know of any middleware provider today that's really building this or has sort of cracked that. But that's definitely something that we're hoping, because what we're seeing is that a lot of hoteliers are extremely focused on this connecting their systems and their data sets to agents, AI, and they use like MCPs for this. You might have heard of that term. That's just a connection. That's not, it doesn't then fully cannot reason what's actually in the different systems. And so we want to make sure that hoteliers aren't sort of getting stuck and disenfranchised by this idea of, oh, I'm using ChatGPT, but it doesn't understand my business. I can't share guest data with it because it's not safe. All these kind of things. You need something that's built into your system. And so that's what we're trying to achieve here.
Okay, so this question, I think you've partly answered it a little bit, but I think a lot of people will be interested to know if you had to implement an AI transition into your hotel today, what tools would you prioritize without hesitation, and how would you approach the transition over the next few years through a dedicated specialist or a full AI transition team? So which tools and how to implement them?
That's a very good and big question. Of course, one thing that I think is extremely important is rather than just looking at the next shiny object and thinking, okay, I need to start using some AI, take a step back and actually look at your technology stack today.
Mm.
And I'm not here to sell Muse or say that Muse is the best platform for everyone. It's definitely not. But is your technology stack ready for AI adoption? The vendors that you work with, are they investing in AI tools to be implemented in their systems? Are they thinking about these things the way that we are, for example? Um, at the same time, having an AI tool like you see a lot of chatbots today or voice assistants, these kind of things are great, but they are quite small if you think about it in the larger picture. So they can answer a few questions. You might have a chatbot on your website, but they're not smart enough to really make a difference operationally to your day to day and make your operations more efficient and really drive either increased revenue or reduction in costs. And so really thinking holistically through everything that you have today, and looking at the vendors that you work with today and making sure that you trust that they will be the right ones moving forward, I think is the first thing. If you want some outside help with that, yes, I would recommend talking to an advisor or a consultant and seeing what they can do for you. I don't think you need internal teams or to hire someone specifically for their AI skills. Things change so rapidly, and there's so many unknowns that anyone who tries to sell you that they know all the answers, first of all, I mean, they're not talking truth. No one knows how certain things work at the moment. No one knows what's going on in these large language model black boxes. Even Google themselves say they don't really understand what their LLM comes up with all the time. So it's not about sort of getting all the answers. It's about experimenting, trying things out, and really looking holistically at what your setup is today and making sure that you're confident that that's the way that you can move forward in sort of the next 5 to 10 years.
Great answer, thank you. I think we've got time for probably just one more. And I think this is an interesting one, actually. With regards to AI, is there anything you think the industry is currently underestimating?
Yeah, well, I suppose two things. The one I've already mentioned, which is I think the barrage of potential requests and the logistical nightmare that it could become if you're not prepared for this. Um, I think is something that people are underestimating. And I think the impact that AI is already having, but also will have, is something else that's related to that. That's definitely I feel underestimated. I think a lot of hoteliers today are sort of stuck in this distribution mindset of people are starting to look at ChatGPT to book their travel. I need to be on ChatGPT. How do I get onto ChatGPT and my hotel is visible there? It's a very important question. Don't get me wrong, but there's so much more that AI will impact, and I think if you want to look at AI and the full impact that it can have, start thinking about some of the other more operational elements that AI will touch and will impact, because that is where the real change will be.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Wouter, especially answering all those live technical questions on the fly.
Great.
What really struck me was the number of times you mentioned humans and the human touch.
Mm.
And it's great to see someone who's so clearly technology minded not lose sight of what our wonderful industry is all about. And I think that's fantastic. So thank you very much. That was very interesting and very clearly explained, which I think not always AI presentations are. I'd like to thank everyone for listening and for asking all those great questions. As Wouter mentioned, if you do need formal advice, then please do go to your professional advisor or consultant, or come to me for Hosper for a referral. I can definitely introduce you to Wouter directly and to MEWS, but also other expert advisors if you would like to be introduced to them. And finally, as I always say, please do take a look at our website, hosper.org, for other upcoming events. We've got a number of webinars scheduled. Next week, on the Tuesday, the 28th of April, we've got a debate about technology advances in tips and trunks and also employee scheduling. So that I think is a must attend for anyone involved in the allocating of or receiving of tips and or scheduling staff at the optimal level. So that will be another interesting one. I'll be chatting with Hotstats and RBH about the first quarter's performance on the 7th of May. And also on the 7th of May, we'll be out and about with Ryan Haynes from the Hotelier's Voice, this time in Stratford, for another roundtable discussion. The National Hotel Marketing Conference takes place next week on the 30th of April. Please do check the website for date and location. And then our ever popular annual Great Green Balloon Debate returns on the 12th of May this year in London. So please register for that too. But Wouter, thank you so much for your time today and for the support of your team in pulling this together. I suspect we'll have given our listeners lots to think about today, but I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time and thank you all for listening.